Hey, this is Brendan Allen from comiccon.com. Today we're going to be talking about Ghostlore from Boom Studios. Comes out on May 10th. We've got writer Cullen Bunn with us. He's working with Leo Max and Jason Wordie and Ed Dukeshire. Also, Bry Hurt and Bill Crabtree on this one. It's a horror story, and it's a really interesting kind of angle for it. You want to tell us what it's about?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ghostlore is the story of a father and daughter who have very different approaches to everything. They are on very different paths in their life. After a tragic accident, they both discover that they have the ability to communicate with spirits. And these spirits have stories they really want to impart. The telling of these stories seems to cement the spirit into our world and give them the opportunity to pass on into whatever's next. But the father and daughter both have very, very different approaches to setting these spirits free. One of them has a very peaceful approach to helping these spirits move on to what's next, and one of them has a very violent approach to moving on to what's next.
That's interesting because I did pick up on that a little bit, but I didn't understand what was going on there until you just said that. It's that's really great that they both kind of find this clairvoyance, but they deal with it in very different ways and express it very different ways.
Yeah, it's it's a story about two people dealing with a strange supernatural occurrence that's growing and growing and growing around them. But I really wanted to ground it in the idea of how we all deal with things differently, and especially how a parent and a child may approach things very, very differently, and how that brings them apart, how it brings them together. And so that was a big part of what was driving this story.
That's really cool. I also noticed that Leo Max is credited as the artist, but then you have Bry Hurt also credited as the artist and two different colorists. There's a point in the story where it kind of goes back into flashback, and the art changes, and it's just enough to kind of make you think about why the art just changed, and then it gets explained a little while later. I know you've worked with Bry Hurt before. What was it like working with Jason on one, or not Jason, Leo Max on one part and Bry on the other part, and kind of how you coordinated that to happen the way it did?
Yeah, it was so the one of the things I think is most interesting of Ghostlore is what you just described. So Leo Max is our artist for the entire series. He is the primary artist. He's telling the story of this father and daughter. But every issue, the ghosts will tell a story, and that story will be illustrated or will be rendered by a different artistic team. So in our first issue, it's Brian Hurt drawing that story. The next one, it's going to be Danny Luckert, and then a future one, we've got Naomi Frank. We've got just a sort of a rogues gallery of artists who'll be coming in to draw these stories. And yeah, it was a little weird at first because scheduling wise, I was writing the short stories that appear in the issues before I was writing the main story, or at least in some cases, the short stories were being drawn before Leo Max was drawing the main story. And there's some little crossover there, so we just had to balance that between the artist teams going forward, and making sure no one drew something completely different. Like if in the first issue, there's a church that features in both the story, the ghost story and the main story. And I guess if Leo Max had drawn a giant cathedral type church and Bry had drawn a little church, that might have been a problem. But we just made sure from an editorial point of view to keep the two of, to keep them in the loop of what they were going to be drawing.
Well, I mean, there's also a level of unreliable narrator there too, though, because if the story's being told from a child's perspective versus an adult perspective, the adult is going to remember the church a little bit differently than the child would, or it might be, less details or details that the adult didn't pick up. So it works, I think, either way.
I like that you bring up unreliable narrator, because that becomes a big part of the story going forward. These two people are hearing, well, many people, the father and daughter, Lucas and Harmony, are not the only people who have this ability to hear stories. But at some point, as the story progresses, we get to the question of what if these, how do we know these stories are true, these stories are outlandish and weird and bizarre. Maybe they're being completely fabricated by these spirits, and that's something we kind of deal with as the series moves along.
Right on. I was also describing this book to my wife, and she had some questions for you. One of
Oh,
the first things, one of the first things she asked is, "Do these stories give you bad dreams?" And then the other one that she asked was, "Do you ever feel bad just murdering everybody that you make the reader care for and get to learn about and stuff, and then you just decimate their entire world? Does that give you bad feelings?" She wants to know.
well, I don't know that the stories give me bad dreams. Some of them come from bad dreams. I think
Mm.
some of them are inspired by bad dreams. I don't know that writing this book really gave me bad dreams as much as it's inspired by bad dreams. I have bad dreams all the time, so who knows what's giving me bad dreams. And then as far as do I feel bad? Absolutely. But I can say that over the years, I've learned that the characters I like the most are the ones who suffer who are the ones who suffer the most and often reach the worst fates. And yeah, I feel a little bad about that, but it's something in my head that makes me do this, makes me tell stories that way, that makes me want to punish the characters who are the nicest and the most interesting, I guess.
I think it's a Hunter S. Thompson quote, right? If you're going to be crazy, you have to get paid for it, or else they're going to lock you up.
That's right. There you go. Yeah.
Nice, right on, cool. Let's see. I think I'm on the wrong page here. That's what I think, because I clicked.
Is that a existential statement that you're on the wrong page?
I am on the wrong page. You know what we haven't talked about yet ever on camera, because the kittens were just born, is we can hear the cats in the background. Tell me
Yeah.
about
I'm
how they've
sorry.
taken over your office.
I'm sorry. Yeah. The kittens have taken over my office. They you want to see a kitten? Hold on. Let me show you a kitten. Oh, there's one. They're everywhere. Look how cute they are, though. Look how cute. My son took in a stray cat because he didn't want it to be outside, and the stray cat, a week after we got it, had kittens. So yes, I have an office, and they have taken over my office. I set up a temporary office outside because it sometimes becomes just unbearable. The constant. They've gotten where they're curious and they're exploring the office and they're crawling on me and trying to climb me. So it's very distracting, and I apologize for that.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. All right. So I think that's about it that we have time for today. That's Ghostlore #1. It's dropping on May 10th from Boom Studios. Writer Cullen Bunn, artist Leo Max, colorist Jason Wordy, letterer Ed Dukeshire. And then on this first episode, the guest artist is Bry Hurt and colorist Bill Crabtree. You have any parting shots before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, no, I think this will be a fun book. It's got this epic supernatural story that Harmony and Lucas are going on, and then we get all these really interesting ghost stories in the middle. So it's a little bit of an epic horror story plus an anthology story. I wanted to approach the idea of what ghost stories would ghosts tell, and that's where we're at with this one.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much. We will see you next time.
All right, thank you.